Hello and welcome to WorldCanvass from the University of Iowa's International Programs. This is part 2 of a 4-part series on teaching innovation. I'm really excited about tonight's program because we're going to be learning about an interactive and interdisciplinary approach to big ideas, what some may have even called big history, by focusing on an innovative team-taught and team-focused course at the UI called The Origins of the Universe. So let me introduce the people who are here with me on stage. Cornelia Lang is an associate professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy and at the UI, and the creator of the Origins of Life course we'll be talking about. And John Logsdon is next to Cornelia. He's an associate professor in the Department of Biology here at the UI, and is one of the professors teaching the Origins of Life course alongside Cornelia and other faculty. Just a note, in your program you see that Andrew Forbes is also mentioned. We had hoped to have him with us, but he was called to jury duty, so he's not with us tonight. So let's just dive right in, Cornelia. I think I'll throw the first question to you. Sure. What's the main challenge in approaching, a huge, perhaps impossibly huge topic like the origins of the universe?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is trying to both cover the breadth that we want to. The course is actually a year-long course, and we involve faculty from 5 departments. So I think the challenge is trying to cover both the breadth, but also the depth, because we do want to challenge students to dig a little deeper and not just survey everything. We want to give them some skills about how to use a scientific method to answer the kinds of questions that we're interested in. So I think the challenge really is the breadth and the depth.
And as I understand it, you had applied for some special funding to put this course together, to sort of design it and so on. Tell us about that whole process.
Well, there was a call about a year and a half ago from the Provost's office for grants to improve student success on campus. And so I decided to apply to do 2 things. One, to teach one of the first true multidisciplinary courses on campus that was taught in an inquiry-guided way. And so I applied for funding mainly to support TAs to help us with the course, because I didn't want to burden any one department as we were kind of coming together as a group from lots of different departments and doing an experiment. And so the funding was primarily to help pay for TA support, and the TAs are really a critical part of our course.
You're going to have a 3D card.
Why are you taking it, Tasia?
So the key thing here is that
Show your Iowa pride, the Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. The ultimate collection of Iowa Hawkeye merchandise, gifts, and apparel. Help support the University of Iowa. All proceeds benefit men's and women's athletic teams and student programs. The Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. Show your Iowa pride. Call 1-800-HAWK-SHOP or visit www.hawkshop.com.
Well, the whole notion of sort of the big idea, I think it definitely applies to the origins of the universe and probably a few other courses, but do you find that you still, even though you're looking to get to that sort of deeper part of this, do you find that there's still an element of the survey course in what you do?
Yes, in fact, one of the ways that we describe our course is essentially kind of like the greatest hits from a lot of the survey courses on campus. So the population that we're targeting in our Origins of Life in the Universe course is non-science students who are hoping to fulfill their general education requirements. So we really have a very specific target in mind. These are not advanced graduate students or even majors in one of our departments. These are the students who are looking for a way to get their requirements done. And what we offer them is a year-long experience, including a lab, so that at the end of it, they can check that box that says, I have taken a natural science at University of Iowa. And so the job is kind of big because we want to not only teach them the content, but we will also want to teach them the kinds of things that they're expected to get out of their maybe one and only science course at the University of Iowa. And so, they're just, it's a tall order.
Yeah. So you're from physics and astronomy.
Right.
And John, you're from biology, and you've been teaching here for some time. Are you relatively new to this particular class?
Well, we all are, since this is the first time. But in fact, this is the first entry-level course I've taught. It's also the first non-majors course I've taught, and it's also the first tile course I've taught. So I'm new in lots of regards, even though I've been here for a decade. And so it's been a little bit. It's exciting, but also challenging. There have been times when I've been, wow, this is so different from the last decade of how I've been carrying on as a biology professor, and it's been stimulating for sure, challenging, frustrating sometimes even. But I'll tell you what, it's been a really fantastic experience for the faculty, and we're hoping, and we were talking about this earlier, is that we as a faculty group have had such a good time learning from each other and developing this stuff that we're we're hoping it will just rub off as we're presenting it to students. I think we have some evidence that it is.
I think so.
And so, all around it's been a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, just to add to what John said, I mean, one of the motivations for developing this course was very selfish, in that I actually wanted to learn a lot about geology, about biology, about chemistry, about anthropology, classes that I didn't get a chance to take in college. And I wanted to also collaborate, with other people on campus. Because you kind of, you're here for 10 years and you have a lot of fun doing the things that you usually do, and you get good at them and they become routine, but then at some point you kind of want to change it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, in our earlier segment, there was some discussion of inquiry-guided learning. For someone who didn't see that program, what do we mean by inquiry-guided learning?
Well, I'll start, and Cornelia can add in. So we are not lecturing per se. We are doing. Actually each day is an activity or a set of activities. So those activities can be little experiments that they're doing. They could be observing things. A lot of time we shoot them off onto the internet, and that was talked about in the previous segment as well, that my line that I always tell them is Wikipedia is your friend, but not your only friend. And it's true, they do need some help about doing that research, and I think that's one of those big transitions is that there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of good information, there's a lot of correct information, and they're aware of that. And so to some extent, it's not about telling them what the information is, but pointing them to where they can find the right information. And so we do a lot of that. And there's a little bit of lecturing, but the students work as groups of three and at the larger tables as well. So it's all they're teaching each other along the way as well.
And we design it. So we have a year, and so we've designed essentially 6 sort of thematic units where faculty from different departments contribute. And beyond that, we even try to design each day as almost like an independent module, so that if we wanted to take it and use it in another course, or you wanted to rearrange the order of things a little bit, you could. And so each day has an activity worksheet, each day has a set of readings for it, each day has learning objectives, and then each day has a lot of very active components. The students are either making a list. What did we do yesterday? We made a list of biofilms. So these are substances that exist in modern times. They're very simple substances, and we think that they represent some of the earliest forms of life on our planet. So we had students researching things like the mat that forms in kombucha tea and the plaque on your teeth. These are both biofilms. I thought about that when I was brushing my teeth earlier. And so we had them up at the board writing down sort of the properties of biofilms, and then we had a vote on which one was the grossest. So each day is very active, and the students, though, are encouraged to come prepared. Because these kinds of things, and we may hear about this later, these kinds of things don't work if the students come unprepared or come expecting to listen. So the students kind of have to be a little bit on their game, and that can be a little hard for them at times, that when you tell them, like, you need to come to class and you need to be ready to participate, it can be kind of overwhelming for them.
And they understand that you really mean it. I mean, there might be someone who says, I want you to participate in class, but you're not really going to get nailed. In this case, you're in very small groups and you're working directly with other students and with faculty, and you will be asked to take
And
part.
at the same time, though, of course, the same students are in standard lecture courses. And we haven't talked about this, but I've noticed that as the course has gone on, the amount of preparation, they took us more seriously at the front edge, I think. As the course has gone on, I think they've not done as much of the preparative reading coming in sometimes, so they need to be reminded of that, because in a place like this, probably a majority of the courses, you go to lecture and open up your head, pour it in, and then go back and study your textbook afterwards. That's not the model we're using in any sense.
Yeah. So now, have you already been through one full year, or this is the first year?
This is the first time. So we have done, so this fall, the themes are origin of the universe, origin of life, and then origin of life on Earth. So we're giving them the framework to think about these big topics. And then basically next week we are going to get to the point on the planet Earth where we have gotten right before the Cambrian explosion, where life really diversifies and gets very complex fairly quickly. And so we are in this kind of, what do they call it? Geologists call it the boring billion right now, this sort of billion years where there are a lot of bacterial forms of life, but certainly no plants and animals as we know them now, or even prehistoric plants and animals. And so we will get essentially to the Cambrian period by winter break, and then when we start again in the spring, we will go up from the Cambrian into the more modern times, and then we'll start talking about, so we'll talk about all the diversity of life, and that's when a lot of the biological evolution will come in, and then we will talk about human origins, and then we'll talk about the rise of intelligence in humans. And then we'll turn it back around and say, okay, now that we have evolved intelligent life on our planet, can we look for similar forms of life out there in the universe? And so we'll come back to astronomy at the very end and then talk about kind of implications for the future. So we're hoping the students hang in there.
So we've done about the first 16 billion years this semester.
Right.
And next semester is actually only 500 million years.
Yeah, right. So, next semester, we're trying to get that across to the students.
So we've covered a lot of ground, I think.
We have covered a lot of ground.
Tradition.
Ambition.
Exploration. Inspiration.
You feel it when you step on campus at the University of Iowa.
The energy and pride of students inspired by our history.
And excited about our future.
When you join the Hawkeye family, you're a part of it all.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of it.
Be a Hawkeye.
So there was earlier mention of this little proposal that you gave your students before they went home for Thanksgiving break. Think of something that you've learned in this class that you can interpret for your family, help them understand what you've been learning. How did that go? What did the students say?
I think it went really well. We're just still in the process of grading the assignment. So basically, it was a multi-part assignment. And this is what's fun about this course is we have lots of different people helping to design the curriculum. We're very involved in planning each day, and we have a lot of interesting reading. So the students have been asked to do a lot of different things. So we give them a lot of credit for hanging in there. And so this was the second part of an assignment where in the first part they had to identify 3 surprising things that they had learned in this course, or 3 interesting things that they did not know before. And they had to prepare those, and then they submitted those to be looked at for a writing assignment. And then they had to choose one of those and then think about a way that they could model it for their family. And so we had all sorts of examples ranging from, the thickness of the crust on the earth compared to how deep the earth is likened to the skin on an apple compared to the entire radius of an apple. And then they had to ask their family if their family members knew that, and then report back to us. So I think the assignment went well. Most of they all did it, and so they had to have prepared ahead of time, and then they had to have done this over Thanksgiving.
So I'll point out that activity and one of many sort of things that we've done was actually, all of these things we've come up with together in a collaborative group of faculty and these TAs. And this was actually one of the graduate student TAs that came up with this particular idea. So that's been another wonderful thing about the course, is just the collegiality, and they're all in different disciplines. So he's in physics and astronomy, and there's a biology TA, and there's a chemistry TA, and next semester we'll have a geology and an anthropology TA. So those levels of interaction, and they're sort of closer to the students to some extent, so that we have these sort of interesting social dynamics in the course, and we're all in the same room. It's a relatively small room, 70, is it 71, 81 students?
81 students, yeah.
So that's been a wonderful part, and so there are all these sort of kind of conversations that can happen and different ideas. And we all help each other to understand our own disciplines better and other people's disciplines for sure.
Yeah, we talk about every single day, regardless of if John's leading or I'm leading or Andrew or David, or even sometimes one of the TAs who just finished her PhD in chemistry actually is filling in for, we didn't find a chemistry faculty member who had the ability to participate in the course. And so she's been able to rise to the occasion and actually lead the chemistry days. But I mean, so there's a group of us, and we plan each day, and we all contribute with ideas and suggestions. And that's very different than the model of, there are multidisciplinary courses on campus. I mean, the medical school is a fantastic example of bringing in different expertise when needed. But the traditional model for multidisciplinary courses is, okay, you have weeks 2 through 4, and when you're done, you hand me the baton, and I'll take weeks 4 through 5, and things like that. And this is very different. It requires more time, a lot more time, and better communication, but it's really very fun. And that way I've been able to learn a lot more about my colleagues' fields and get really interested in some of the stuff we're teaching. So there's very much a TA component, a faculty component, and a student component to this whole experience.
So you've got a student who may not be thinking at all of majoring in anything scientific. They're kind of taking this course because they have to. It's one course, it goes for the whole year, that might be easier. You might imagine ways in which a student would figure out which course they want to take for their, to satisfy their general education requirement. Are you finding that there are students in this course who never thought about going into anything scientific, who've told you, I think I want to study biology, or are you having that kind of transfer?
I've had 3 students approach me about studying astronomy, and not just astronomy, but also one of them was also interested in kind of planetary astronomy. And so, in particular, this woman came in, and she has a background in math, and so she's actually in a good position to transition into our major. And so we talked quite seriously about it. In the end, she decided that she was going to stick with her major. But I've had a number of students ask me about that, and I think the fact that the students come to class, they come prepared, they ask us questions, many of them have signed up for the second part. There's sort of no way to require them to take the second half, and that itself is an experiment. There are very few year-long courses on campus, and I even talked to the registrar about trying to automatically enroll the students in the spring, which I think would be a good idea. And actually, this is from the student's perspective, to know that you're taking that class in the spring kind of eases the burden of having to choose. And but I think based on the fact that students are readily signing up for the spring means that they are curious about it. And a number of students have said that this is one of the most favorite ways that they have experienced to learn about science.
We won't know for a number of years whether this will fuel that. I mean, I think it'll be a great outcome if a few of these students, the way things are set up here at University of Iowa, there's a timeline, and once your year's over, it's a little bit difficult to switch, say, from a humanities major to a science major. It's not impossible, of course, and I think this is the kind of experience that if that's what people want to do, they'll be encouraged to do it.
Yeah, this is where it's going to happen.
And so it's not really a criterion, but I think we're all kind of looking forward to maybe seeing those students, one or a few of those students in our upper level courses at some point. Sure. And we'll just have to wait a few years and see if that works or not. But it's okay either way, because then they're science literate community members and parents, et cetera, which is actually a major goal of what we're trying to do.
Well, and the neat thing too is that we, since going back to what I said earlier, since we are kind of sampling the highlights from a lot of survey courses, you were asking about how to deal with the survey nature of the course. Since we're kind of highlighting the greatest hits, then that means that these students, if they get real curious about, say, evolution, there's a whole course on evolution that we offer. Or if they get really curious about how stars work, there's a whole course on that, or human origins. And so what we don't want to do, and we've had to make this case to the Educational Policy Committee in the College of Arts and Sciences, we've had to make this case that this course is not meant to replace courses that already exist. We're not trying to stomp on other people's turf, because there's a lot of excellent faculty who have developed semester-long courses just on fossils from the Cambrian to the modern record, or things like that. And so we definitely are hoping that students might take this course and then want to take another course in geoscience just for the heck of it, not because they have to.
Some of those courses are even taught by some of the people that are in our course, which is nice, right? So if they like the topic and they like the faculty member, then they can take another course.
Situation. And then we're also the neat thing is that the five of us have expertise in different areas, but then partly because of the format and the inquiry guided experience in the room, we can invite people to come in and do a 15 or 20 minute presentation, or bring in a collection of meteorites, or next semester we have our colleague in Earth and Environmental Sciences, Chris Brochu, who works a lot on dinosaurs and ancient crocodilians, and he's going to definitely be invited to do a couple of the lectures where we talk about the transition from water onto the land, and I'm sure he might be willing to bring in some of his specimens, we'll see. But anyway, so that's the kind of thing we get to do in the room. The tile room and the inquiry guided format allows us to play a little bit more in the classroom with some of these things. And again, the expectation that the students are prepared really frees you up in class to help them struggle or to show them things that they might not otherwise see.
As a way of emphasizing the novel and innovative nature, I was going to point out that we looked around for a textbook for them to read that would cover all the things, and we completely failed. We have one that works in some areas and not others. So this just tells you that this is on the edge of combination of ways of looking at things and the sum of the content that we're trying to put together.
Show your Iowa pride, the Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. The ultimate collection of Iowa Hawkeye merchandise, gifts, and apparel. Help support the University of Iowa. All proceeds benefit men's and women's athletic teams and student programs. The Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. Show your Iowa pride. Call 1-800-HAWK-SHOP or visit www.hawkshop.com.
Well, it's clear to me that the two of you are really sort of invigorated by the whole process. Is there anything that you feel you need to tweak next time around? Have you come across some sort of disappointments, either in the way you create your presentations and your daily activities, or the way students respond to certain things? Have you yet had any of that kind of?
Can I talk, since I gave the last activity on yesterday?
Right.
And I had kind of modified something that I'd taught in a couple of different contexts, and I think I just put too much content in a little 20-minute mini lecture. One of the students raised up her hand and said something like, I think we should all have PhDs now after we've learned all that. And it's humbling, right? At some level you got to kind of dial it back and figure out how to hit those high points. So.
Yeah. But no, and I will emphasize again, this whole year is an experiment, and I think that's why we're also so glad that we have so many hands on deck who have worked together to create each day, but also then every one of us can give our opinions, and we actually there's a whole ITS component that we haven't had a chance to talk about, but we actually have a faculty development wiki for the course that ITS set up for us. And so we have the ability after each class, or when we go back and have time, to put comments in electronically. All of us can contribute to this. That's how we designed the whole curriculum. And so that's a very flexible thing. So the TAs actually have been assigned by the head TA for assessment. We have a TA just for assessment. And that person has assigned the other TAs to go in and put in comments after each period about what they thought worked and what didn't. And we will definitely be making tweaks.
Well, we talked a little bit about team-based learning in an earlier segment, and the fact that it can be intimidating for some students. Some students are just shyer; they'd prefer to just kind of do their work by themselves. And we have a large international student component on campus as well, with different kinds of cultural background and so on. Are you finding that in a very short period of time, the direct interaction there does create what appear to be friendships between the students, and just a better social aspect to the classroom setting than you might have in a 50-minute period where everybody comes in, plunks down their backpack, takes notes.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a lot of the students are reticent to do that at the beginning, and you see the ones that weren't talking very much talking to each other. So I think there are some real friendships and collegiality that goes on.
And there's some loyalties to their tables, because sometimes we do a little competition around the room, or table 1 versus table 5, and they get pretty loyal. They've been in their table and team groups all semester, although we've rotated them around the room. So
great. Wow. Well, John Logsdon and Cornelia Lang, thank you so much for talking with us about this. It's really exciting, and it looks like there's a good future. Will you have funding for the TAs going on into the future?
We have a couple. We have some funding down the road. Everyone seems to be very excited about this, and we're working hard on the assessment part so that we can report back. And the other very exciting development is the Provost's office has decided also to fund a social science constellation course modeled on what we've created. And then down the road, we're hoping that a humanities course would be designed in a similar way. So I'm really hoping that this might slowly start to grow on campus as a way of teaching undergraduates. So.
Yeah, terrific. Very exciting. Well, so thanks for joining us this afternoon. You've been listening to the second part in a 4-part series on teaching innovation, and our guests were Cornelia Lang and John Logsdon from the University of Iowa. Join us next week when we'll be discussing teaching innovation by looking at the contexts in which learning takes place. WorldCanvass programming is available on UITV, on YouTube, iTunes, KRUI, and the International Programs website, which is international.uiowa.edu. I'm Joan Kjaer for International Programs. Thanks for being here, and see you next time.